Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. My name is Chet Zar, and I have another episode for you today. Another fantastic interview. This week we have Xsullo, Nick Sullo, and his wife are an art team, and he's another new friend I've met in the NFT space. So I mentioned in the interview, I'm very self-conscious that I keep talking about NFTs, and I'm hopefully not pissing people off that maybe aren't into NFTs, but I keep seeing so much cool art there and so many great artists doing digital work that it just feels natural for me. And I've always approached this podcast in a natural way and sort of done what I've felt would be a good episode every episode, not trying to do episodes for ulterior motives or anything. It's always organic. I try and keep it organic. And lately I've been looking at a lot of digital and NFT artists that are inspiring me. So Xsullo is great. You'll love their work, I'm sure. It's really cool stuff. And so the interview went really well. Super cool dude. And yeah, so that's coming up. I myself have been getting books out. Basically, that's about it. Getting books out, doing a little bit of painting here, trying to catch up on some things. As you know, nothing's really changed. I'm still working. My main focus is getting the dystopia books out. I put them on my website. I put 100 on my website at a discounted rate. I'm not making like a huge announcement, although I guess I kind of am right now, but this is I guess what you'd call a soft release. They call it in the industry of releasing things. But I needed help because the shipping is killing me, because it's the US shipping isn't so bad because it's media mail, and media mail's only gone up like $2 since I did the Kickstarter, but overseas shipping has gone up double in some cases. So I thought I'll put some books for pre-sale. I promised my Kickstarter backers that they won't ship until they get their books. So once Kickstarter backers get their books and everyone's taken care of there, I will start shipping the pre-orders out. So anyway, that money is being used to help cover the shipping overages. And I think we sold like 60 out of 100. I only put 100 up. It's at a like slightly discounted rate. And then once that's taken care of, the Kickstarter people are taken care of, I'll do a proper release and really promote it and really push it on all the social media and stuff. Do a podcast episode with Mike, and we'll talk all about writing the book and everything. So, but we're not quite there yet. I'm probably coming up on 200 books shipped, maybe after tomorrow, hopefully. Maybe not quite that much. Anyway, that's been taking up all of my attention. I've been getting a little bit back into digital art as well. Another aspect to this NFT business. It's like I've got a reason to animate again, which is really cool and fun. Sorry, coffee. I'm having trouble waking up today. But yeah, I've sort of been doing that on, during my breaks when I'm giving myself a little rest. I'll go and play in a 3D program or After Effects, and I forgot how much I liked it, because I forgot how into it I was 20 years ago when I was doing those tool animations and doing my Disturb the Normal DVD. That was it. That was before I started painting or anything. I was so into it for, I think, 5 years. No, it was longer than that. No, it was probably 97. probably 7 or 8 years. I don't know, but I was way into digital for, probably almost 10 years now that I think about it. And I just wasn't able to make any money at it. And I didn't want to go into a visual effects job, doing another kind of service job. So I had to drop it. And then I started painting. And it's kind of fun to be able to get back to that and remember why I fell in love with it. So much fun animating things. So yeah, but usual. I got a bunch of paintings, a lot of commissions I got to get done. Getting the books out. That's pretty much it. Right now, I'm just in the middle of the slog of sketching and signing books. So that's what's going on with me. Let's get on with the interview. Let's get on with the new Patreon subscribers. And if you want to join, you for $1 a month, you get in the Facebook group and the Discord. And the Discord's starting to turn into something. It's pretty cool. But that's at patreon.com/darkartsociety. And you can join for $1 a month, support the podcast and all of that. Okay. And you'll get your name read on the air. On the air. It's not really on the air anymore, is it? Those are from the radio days and the TV days. Okay. I hate the way Zoom makes my computer run so slow. It's like Zoom is great, but it makes my computer really laggy. Everything takes like 10 seconds to, like, if I have to move a screen, a window. Okay. New subscribers this week. Anna. Thank you, Anna. Scott Kranak. Thank you, Scott. And Hodewick. Thank you, Hodewick. Appreciate it. You're making it happen. You're keeping the Dark Art Society podcast alive. And I am grateful. All right, that's it. So let's get on with my interview with Xsullo, or Nick Sullo of Xsullo. Hello, Nick.
Hello, Chet.
As if I didn't just say hi to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, the conversation was already too good, so I'm like, we got to start this thing.
Yeah, can't leave anything.
Don't want to waste it. Don't want to waste it on just regular talk.
Yeah.
Got to capture it. Got to capture it. People want to hear this stuff.
Yeah, people are interested, I think.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm a huge fan of your work. Yeah, you're one of my new NFT friends. I hope people don't get pissed off because I keep talking about NFTs, and I don't know that everybody's into it, but I gotta be real with this podcast the way I've always been, and it's like I'm into it right now, and I just it's exciting to me, and I see some of the best artists doing stuff in NFTs right now. It's like a whole other world I had no idea existed. So I want to start having, such as yourself, I want to start having these people on the podcast because it's just, I see all the energy there and all this amazing artwork. So yeah, thanks for coming on. Your stuff's amazing. I love it.
I appreciate it. No, yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, the NFT space is like right now, it's like, it feels so speculative. And I know there's always been two sides of the space with like collectibles, with the punks, and then crypto art. And yeah, like, because I joined the space late 2020, like November, and there was like a big creative energy. I feel like people felt like a real reason besides client work to kind of pick up their tablet or paintbrush and get creative and really kind of like push themselves like in a personal direction. Because it felt like everyone talks about it where it's like the Wild West. You're like at this cutting edge stage. People always kind of reference NFTs to like the internet boom, or like you're at this kind of like changing point. And people throw around the word renaissance, like digital renaissance, or just another art renaissance. And I think for, you came from the special effects industry, I come from the visual effects industry, and it's always been known to kind of build your career through like client work.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like I've noticed, over the years that gets to the point where like burnout and not having any like kind of creative say as an artist, like working with a client, that you feel like you're being like muted and you don't have like a voice.
Yep.
And that's what's about being like an artist, is being able to kind of like speak up and say something. And once you do, and especially with social media, people will resonate with it and people will connect with it. And I think there's like, I was always very surprised, coming from the VFX industry and then shifting over to the Xsullo artwork, that I didn't know if I was going to get any more work out of that. But honestly, like it shifted my career in such a better place.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the, for you, it's like, it took you what, like 2 years ago you got in about, or a year over 2020, year and a half or something, or.
Yeah, with the NFT space was like late 2020s.
Okay, so like whatever that is, a year and a half. So it was like me leaving effects and getting into fine art, but that took me 7 years while I had the day job, and then now and then another 15 years to get where I am today. And you've gotten to the spot at NFTs in like a year and a half, which is amazing because everything moves so fast. It's like
exactly
because it's like the art world. It's just like a new version of sort of the fine art world. It's a new way to display fine art and sell fine art and stuff.
Well, actually, to like kind of rewind, I got into doing visual effects professionally in like the 2010s, working with James Wan on like Insidious.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. That was like my first. I was like still in like art school in like San Francisco.
Really?
So I like get done with my class and then like walk down like 5 blocks in downtown SF and go and work for a VFX company.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and people were like, not even graduating and jumping right into it. So people were really happy.
Well, that movie, I like that movie. I think I'm getting confused with all these movies that came out around that time. Is that the one where they go into the astral plane at that one point? Yeah, that's a cool movie.
Yeah, and it was James Wan that did like Saw.
Yeah.
I think he just did like the first one, and then he produced the following ones after it. And like
what a great movie to work on for your first film.
Yeah, like awesome. All I knew is James Wan's connected it with it, and I forget the main actor. He was in Watchmen. He's one of like the main characters, Patrick Wilson.
Oh yeah.
He was like big at the time with like Watchmen. So
right.
All right, this is sick. So it was fun. Like 2010 was like kind of my first starting point in working professionally as a VFX artist. And then because everything was so digital, I went more remote based full time, working from home, doing matte painting in like 2014. And that actually led me to kind of get back into like, because I come from the fine art background, and then I started experimenting, started drawing more. Working remotely like allowed me enough time to kind of work creatively on things I kind of neglected for so long. And then 2015, my wife and I formed Xsullo, and just playing around building up like social media on Instagram, and just tuning the craft.
So you didn't start right off in NFTs. You were doing
correct.
Oh, that's cool. So how were you? Because was it still all digital work, or was it like
mixed?
Okay.
Yeah, I did a bit of mostly like acrylic on canvas, like in 2015.
I didn't know that.
And like because everything I do is like based in 3D, and then I like illustrate on top of it, animate on top of it. So it's like a mix of 3D and 2D. And what I used to do is take some of the artworks I love the most, and I project it onto a canvas, and then I start drawing and painting on top of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's like this mixed media in the early 2015s of like making Xsullo. And
Okay,
then
okay. So you were building that for 5 years, that fine art career, while you're working in effects still.
yeah, correct. Yeah, it was
Okay.
like maybe like
'Cause I knew I'd seen your stuff before. When I got on
mhm,
Twitter, I was like, I immediately, you were one of the first people I followed
oh,
because,
nice.
and that, yeah, and I just thought the work was so awesome. But I know I've seen it before. I know I'd seen it kind of like in the traditional art world before.
Yeah, I think like, I mean, obviously following your work, God, I first started following your work. I was introduced to your work by honestly like Tool music videos.
Mhm.
And like it all starts way back. I was like a little kid. I saw Stinkfist and it like scared the shit out of me, but I loved it. It made me think of like Puppet Master, and I love these characters, but I also was like freaked out by them.
Yeah.
Just like Aphex Twin and like Come to Daddy, like all those
Yeah.
late 90s videos.
Yeah. Those are
And
great. That was a great time for music videos.
yeah, and like seeing the stop motion and the visuals mixed with the music, it like it had a huge like inspiration. I was introduced to fuck dude, like the guy that did Aliens. I always forget his name.
Eager.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Geiger. Um hugely inspired by Geiger and some of the most well-known like surreal artists back in the day.
Yeah.
I always draw a blank, but yeah, I was really started getting inspired by Geiger because I grew up on like on Alien, saw a lot of the Tool music videos, and like for me, like that was like this connection of like visual art
Hmm.
and music, and I just love that. And I think I popped open one of the CD cases, and maybe your name popped up in there that you worked or contributed to it. So I was like, I go on dial up internet and I look up your name, and I was just like blown away, like because it I love that dark art element to it. So
Cool.
not to like fanboy it out, but
I appreciate it.
yeah,
No, it's cool that you're into the dark stuff.
yeah, yeah, dude.
Because you definitely, I mean, I wouldn't say that you are, a dark artist necessarily, although
Yeah,
you are, you kind of play in that realm quite a
true.
bit, but it's like you mix it, it's like mixed with this sort of like cyberpunk, sci-fi, visionary art, but it's really unique and really a great style that I just like
Yeah,
responded to right away. I love everything about it, the colors, composition, everything's really beautiful. And
much.
you can tell there's that element of that, there's that darkness in you. You can
Yeah,
see it in there.
I,
A lot of skulls, underneath the skin and stuff like that, so it's there. So I
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, for sure. I love it. I love hearing that. It means a lot. Um, yeah, there is that element of darkness that like late 90s, I was starting into like the more the dark arts.
Mm,
But prior to that, I was really into Japanese anime and
mm,
like Japanese pop culture, and especially like Ghost in the Shell and Akira. So I
mhm.
think some of that cyberpunk element and like kind of colorful pop culture of Japan
Yeah.
got injected into me some way. And like I think that's kind of what Xsullo is a reflection of, like those two worlds kind of converging of like the
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's cool. I think it's cool that because with the podcast is all about, the idea was kind of like spread the good word, good news of dark art in a way, like let
Yeah.
people know about it. But that's part of, I think, having dark art becoming more accepted, is that people don't necessarily have to be all in on it to be influenced by it. You can still be influenced by it, because every artist should be doing their own thing anyway and not trying to fit in a box necessarily.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love to hear that dark art is having an influence on artists like yourself that might not traditionally call themselves dark artists.
Yeah, I think there's just like a lot of truth, and that dark art is like be able to kind of reflect on
Hmm.
and reflect that kind of the dark part of like society.
Yeah.
And I think there's just so much beauty, and I don't know, there's so much beauty within dark art, and be able to kind of explore that element of light and dark and play with like lighting and color, like rich colors, but also have like a dark message.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's
right.
like a really
Totally.
fun
Yeah,
juxtaposition.
that was my whole last show. Was like that. It was like super bright, vibrant colors, but a kind of pretty dark message. So you were, I'm guessing you were the art kid in school when you were a little kid. Just to go back
Yeah.
to your full story here.
Full spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, because I come from like small town Northern California, and like our elementary school is like maybe like 200 to 400 students, like grade first to eighth grade. And small classes. And I was lucky and fortunate enough to have a really great art teacher. Her name went by Debbie, and like to this day I still talk to her.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
She must be so proud of you.
Yeah, like she was also my like PE teacher, so she taught me how to swim and how to do stretches and also how to paint. So my hat goes off to her.
That's awesome.
And yeah, like I was one of those kids that like fell in love with it, and she did this advanced placement art. I remember like as a kid, and we were able to do like this like extracurricular.
I was in AP art.
Yeah.
In high school. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where it was at. It was just
that was my favorite class.
Exactly that in recess when I was like a little kid.
so you what kind of stuff were you drawing at that as a kid? You know, what were your go-to?
It was kind of like an exploratory like realm. I was really inspired by even what the other kids were drawing around me, and like some of the techniques that they were doing with pastels and shading with your fingers and playing with light and color. And my art teacher got us a lot into printmaking and carving into print blocks.
Wow, what a great teacher.
Yeah, she went and studied. Maybe she might have studied in Humboldt State. I forget what, but she's up there. And well,
that's why she was cool. She was a stoner, probably.
Yeah, super hippie. A lot of them up there. Love it.
Just kidding. Yeah, remember how fun it was when you're a kid? Remember like discovering shading for the first time, or discovering all these simple things. Back then it was like, oh my God, I cracked the code, or I figured out another thing about drawing.
I feel like a fucking magician.
Yeah. It was so much
Magic.
fun. So yeah, totally magic. It was like, oh my God, I can't believe I know this now. And like all of a sudden your skill level just jumps up a bit. You know, it's like you're always hitting these little jumps and plateaus. Yeah, leveling up. And that's cool. You had kids to draw with too, like friends and stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like that feeling of leveling up and just like having fun is like totally the energy for my experience getting into the NFT space, like in the early 2000s or the late 2000s, early 2021 now. That it was just like very speculative, like people were really starting to talk about it, and there was a lot of interest in it, and it's just like, all right, let's just like have fun and make fun art. And like I was doing a lot of animations around about a year ago, and just being playful, feeling like kind of a kid again, just making art and not giving a shit what like people think, and making like social commentary about like crypto and just kind of like crypto art. So
yeah, it's been a real creative, you know, again, the Renaissance word. I hate to use it. I hate to use all the cliche words, but it's like they are, you know, Wild West. It's true. It's how it's like. It's the best way to describe it. But it's felt like a real creative renaissance for me. And it's like I've only been in since January, so it's like such a short amount of time. But like I had the other night, I sent you the animation. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but it's these skeletons death spiral, these skeletons spiraling down. And I just did it because it was Sunday and I was giving myself a day off from all the other work I'm doing. And I started it and I was just kind of do a mock-up because I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Cause I was thinking, oh, it's just a cool idea I had for an NFT Actually, it was a cool idea. I thought it would be great on a wall in a gallery to do life size, like these spiraling skeletons, but it's just not practical to do something like that. It's, it'd be really expensive and stuff, whatever. But so anyway, I started doing it in the afternoon just for fun, and I ended up staying up until 3:30 in the morning because I was like, oh, it's all coming back to me, all of my After Effects skills and my Lightwave skills. It's like I started remembering everything in my workflow because it's been 20 years really, and I haven't had a night like I couldn't stop. I just could not stop. I was so enjoying myself creating this thing, and it's like I can't even remember the last time I had one of those nights where I couldn't stop because I was so into what I was doing. So it's this whole new, renewed sense of creativity for me.
I feel like that's kind of made the artist journey, is just kind of revisiting this. It's just like where everything kind of comes together and you're inspired and motivated on, and it surprises you,
Right.
And it's such a like a fun experience because like, yeah, I was just watching the Death Spiral that you sent me, and it really brought me back to I remember, I don't know, it must have been like on one of your old sites when I was like in college going to art school, and I saw one of your videos where it was like a 3D animated, maybe one of your characters, and it kept going through its mouth, or like a tongue.
Yeah. It's going back and forth, the endless tongue. Yeah. That was I used to have those on my website. I forgot about that. I had those animations on there. That's so funny.
And I was just like, fucking, yeah, this is totally Chet Zar. This is so trippy. Like, I love it. And it does, like, that kind of artwork, to just be real, like, does very well. Like, especially like one-on-one or just as an artist in the NFT space, is you probably notice this like loopable artwork. People love it. And
I was so into that. That was my thing 20 years ago. It's so crazy. It's like, man, I just did it because it was so fun. I was so excited about it in like the mid 90s or 96, 97, when this hacker dude introduced me to Lightwave because he was a Lightwave user. And so I learned Lightwave and I was like, oh my God, I could make my own little movies. And then I got into this idea of looping them. And I wanted to put them on screens. I've told the story a million times, so I apologize to the listeners, but I wanted to put the animations on screens and show them in a museum. That was my big, crazy idea that was, like, wow, that's so cool. You'd have looping paintings on the wall, but they're digital, but I couldn't afford to do it. And so I like, I'll put it, I did some for Tool. And then I made a DVD of them, and that was it. That was like the most I could do with it. And it's like, now it's the opportunity to actually, realize that vision I had 20 years ago is here. And it's like, oh my God, I thought it was over. I thought I'd probably never be going back to digital because I just couldn't figure out a way to make it pay off, because everything I do has to make money now because it's my, this is my job now,
Yeah. And I think that kind of reflects with like where digital art was at that point in time. I guess there was so much pushback with like the fine art industry.
Yeah, you couldn't make a living. You couldn't make a living at it. Not and it was in just galleries or anything.
Exactly. I remember even it seemed like that vibe of what you experienced in the early 2000s was even up until like 2019. I reached out to a pretty well-known like fine art surreal gallery in LA. I forget what their name, but
Morpheus Gallery. Oh,
yeah, they're like in Santa Monica. Man, I can't remember. It's not it. Like Super Chief is great when it comes to that stuff, but just one of these art galleries.
Yeah, sorry, I had to let the dog out. Okay.
So yeah, it was one of these art galleries, and I was like, hey, I would love to display my work in your studio, but it's only digital. And they're like, oh, we don't do digital.
Yeah,
and then I reached out to them like after the NFT space. And I was like, what about now? They're like, yeah, like we're definitely looking into doing, like, they have like a whole roster of some of the fine artists that they had part of their family for years. So they want to kind of go back to it. But yeah, I feel like
hey, you're like, fuck you.
Yeah, I feel like fuck that, man. Yeah, exactly.
No, I've told the story a bunch of times. As well as that Cam DeLeon, Cam DeLeon. He did
Not
all.
familiar.
He was the tool guy before me.
Oh,
So the
really?
tool artist, yeah. So he's like the OG tool guy.
The
He did
stop
those.
motion stuff.
No, he did like designs for a lot of, I think, like the album covers with all the eye, with that eye where it's look the pupils, the iris is up here and then it's down here like a
Like
all
anima or onima.
yeah all that stuff he was doing.
Mid 90s.
Yeah, and he's just amazing. And I remember going to him when we were both trying to get in galleries, and it was like, no, we don't do digital. And he's like one of the most amazing artists ever. If you look him up, you'll see his stuff and you'll go, oh yeah, shit, he's amazing. But
Oh yeah. I'm gonna definitely check him out after this.
Yeah.
Not familiar, but obviously familiar with you and then Meets Meyer.
Yeah. He's been coming up a lot lately too.
Exactly.
I don't know why he's not doing NFTs.
I actually reached out to him because we talked off and on, because he was another, after finding out about you, I started finding out about Meets, and we started following each other and started talking about the NFT space. And he's definitely like he wants to get involved.
He'll kill it in there.
Yeah,
he was doing all this stuff way before.
Yeah,
he was one of the first. Yeah, he's one of the first 3D guys I started following back when I was into it. Like, you remember those animations he did? Did you ever see him where he put like an object in his yard and he'd be handheld camera, and it's like it was so good you couldn't tell how he was doing it. Back then it was totally weird to see.
Yeah, that must have been like, I definitely saw his stuff with I think he might have did stuff with Lateralis, but 10,000 Days he was definitely involved.
Yeah,
in album art.
Yeah.
And then like a few years later I started looking him up, and I remember him doing like these handheld like videos.
Yeah, he was doing that stuff, like I'm talking like 2000, I think in the early 2000s he was doing these, and it was so weird that people, it was, nowadays people do that all the time, have just put these 3D objects in a physical space and kind of like an AR type thing. Back then people didn't know what it was. People thought it was real. Like, I remember going, what the hell is that? A big metal sculpture in his yard that he made? How did he make that?
Yeah, it's so wild. Even like I think I first saw it in like 2010, and it even felt like I still have never seen anything like this before. And it was so cool watching.
Remember he had the coffee table with all those figures coming out that were all kind of reaching and stuff, and he's like walking around. I don't know.
And then like he had like this motorcycle, like this really kind of
yeah. That's right.
But yeah, I remember like those figures, so like creepy and like kind of visceral. Like, it was so cool.
And he was just doing it for fun. He was totally just doing it for art. It was really cool because there was no way to make any money off that, really.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even digital art, there was no form of like, you just kind of promote yourself, hoping to kind of maybe get some clients for that, whether it's like album artwork or
like serve. It was it was your portfolio to get jobs to work for other people is what it ended up being. And it's like not really what, as fine artists, what we want. We're looking to do our own thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't very like lucrative at all. Like, maybe you'll get lucky and hit a good client and that pays pretty well, but a lot of like musicians DMing me for like lowball amounts of money, and it's just like, that's why I kind of always lean back on the visual effects and stuff, where it was like most of it was like the client work with VFX industry, and some of it was the Xsullo stuff. But I just loved doing the Xsullo stuff so much. Like, my heart was so much into it.
Yeah.
Where I was like on, my day hustle, and then at night just like doing my own thing, my own jam.
Yep. That was me. That was me for 7 years in effects. Every night I'd go home and work on my own stuff. And then during the day, it's just like, I would just, once you get a taste of it, it's so hard, man. Once I remember when I would sell a painting or something, every time it'd be like so painful to go back into work the next day. It's like, I see the potential to get out of this. and not
That's
have to
crazy.
work a day job. And it was
exactly how I felt last year getting into NFT, and it
really
blew up. And like, I didn't want to burn bridges with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
I made because like you never know.
Yeah, right.
And I was just like, I'm not gonna like just drop out of it, but I'm also going to step back away from it and say, hey, I'm too preoccupied. But yeah, going in and or remotely going in and just like, being like a cog in the wheel and just grinding. And it's just like, no one's gonna, they're like, can you change this one little thing? It's like, no one's gonna give a shit.
Yeah.
No one's gonna tell. No one's gonna know what is it. Really. But they do like to be like so honest about it. Is like they do that because it's just a 9 to 5, and it's busy work. It turns into busy work, and it kills all the creative energy. And I remember like late last year, like I was working with a client, and I was just like, I can't do this. I cannot I'm torturing myself just showing up here every day, Monday through Friday. What the hell? All right, I'm done. Like, hey guys, I got something that came up. And then I dropped an NFT the next week, and I made like 100 times more than I did in a week in one night. So I'm
amazing.
And it's super fucking like surreal. I'm super grateful and thankful and feel lucky to be in the space. But in the space itself, it has like ebbs and flows. There's always kind of like ups and downs, and just like the crypto market.
Just like crypto, yeah.
Exactly.
So I got to ask you, because I'm so, I'm not, without making you feel embarrassed or anything, you've sold some pieces for a lot of fucking money, a lot of money. So I'm curious what it's like, what are those level of collectors like? Because I've never sold anything for close to that before with art collectors. And I've sold to some pretty wealthy people, but not that kind of not that kind of money. So I'm just curious. It's like, do you know the collectors? It's because it's like so much of NFT is like no one likes to put their identity out there, and people like to keep it like, I don't know, they're like low key and private. And so I'm just curious if there is like what that world is like. Did you just sell these randomly, or are these collectors you had cultivated, or how did that, without, if you don't have to say it if it's weird, but if for what you can say, I'm curious to hear about that.
Honestly, it's kind of organic, I think, is simply put, and it's all kind of within the Twitter space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where it's either they're a big collector and they love my artwork and they reach out to me, like that. I've had that happen, and they like just DM, and we just start talking, and then we talk about like prices, and we talk about the artwork, and there's a back and forth with it, and we come to like a conclusion.
Right.
Or it's like, I've seen collectors where it's like, wow, they definitely have like a big like a collection going on here, and I, like, as an artist, would love to be in their collection. And I love the kind of the artwork that they collect.
Yeah.
So I'd reach out to them, and that's happened a few times as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's kind of like an organic, experience. And then sometimes it's just like randomly happens, especially when like 1-in-1 season NFT starts getting hot, and like there's enough like motion happening that it'll just happen automatically. And
so it's not some planned out thing you planned out to get big collectors. It was just a natural.
Yeah, I've always felt like organic.
Yeah.
Right place, right time kind of a thing.
Interesting.
And I think these collectors are getting smarter, as in terms of just they want quality over quantity nowadays.
Right. Yeah, I think so.
And yeah, like my experience, like even though there's like so much hype and like so much buildup, it felt very like organic and like a one-on-one conversation. And for whatever reason, they wanted to collect my artwork, whether it's just like, kind of, it's something that they love and resonate with, or it's popular at the time because, this is like what people are really interested in general, like what's happening on Super Rare. So it really kind of has a lot to do with like all these different elements of like the market. Does the collector like your work? And I think quality definitely plays part of it. And I've been hearing a lot more people on Twitter, like right now in the past few weeks, talk about, like it should kind of go back into the art and the quality over the quantity.
Same here. I've been seeing that. That seems to be the general consensus, is that people are kind of tired of the PFP, or the generative projects, or they're not as exciting as they were, unless they're done well, because there's been, some not. It's just anytime there's a lot of money to be made, this shit happens. And in any field, people come in to try and make a quick cash grab, and the quality's not there.
I think, I think it has like this gambling aspect to it.
Right.
And a lot of people get into PFPs in the sense of wanting to collect for a low price and then flip it. Right. Like 10x, 100x.
Which is like, fine, that's cool with me. It's cool.
Exactly.
It's not one thing or the other. It's the one of the big takeaways I've had from the whole NFT space is it's not just one thing. It's not a bunch of rug pulls. It's not only these PFP or generative projects. It's not only a bunch of criminals trying to scam your crypto. It's like there's all of these things in there, but it's just so much of all kinds of different things. So it's like anything. There's good and there's bad in it, and you align yourself with the good people and the real artists doing cool shit. And even I'm into the generative stuff. To me, is like, I get it, it's fun, it's like a fun, but it's different. It's not the same as a one-to-one fine art piece. It's just a different thing.
It's just kind of look at it like a city, and there's different districts, neighborhoods of that focus on different things. And I think that's such a very healthy way to look at it as like not so black and white, and that it's just like this full spectrum. And like NFT, the word NFT is like an umbrella, and it can go all sorts of different directions. And I think when things get, like, I see collectors and people in the NFT space talk about this, when things get quiet and aren't like so hustling and so noisy that you can see within the NFT space that happened last year, I think people start bickering and start comparing and start arguing. And I think that's just like maybe human nature.
Yeah, that's how it always is. When things are going well, everyone's happy. And when things aren't going well, everyone's pissed off and fighting. It's like,
I wonder what the gold rush was like. I bet everyone was so fucking hunky-dory.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And then the Great Depression, I'm sure everybody was fucking fighting and hating each other. And, it's like, it's just the way it is. But, exactly. But I don't know. It's so, I'm actually really self-conscious about, I keep talking ever since I got in, of course, these podcasts, I keep talking a lot about NFTs. So I'm like totally worried that I'm going to alienate fans of this podcast, because we got a pretty good listenership. But like I said before, it's like, I see so much cool stuff happening here. I feel like I want to talk about it because it's exciting. And it's the stuff that I'm excited about and talking about is the art aspect of it and the creativity. And it's not like I said, like staying up all night the other day and just getting so into doing something for fun is like, that's where you, whatever art form you're doing, that's usually a good sign that you're creating purely in a pure way that's really real,
that form of excitement, because like there's times where your creativity feels like dull, and kind of like the edges feel soft, and like you might just not be motivated enough. And I don't know, there's it, like,
you need a change, you need to switch it up. It's like it's like, to me, it's like been a nice change of pace. And then yesterday I just busted out this little study here, and it was like, oh, I haven't painted in a while. I've been doing little things here and there, but not sitting down and, okay, I'm going to start to finish a painting for like a couple weeks. And it's like, and now I feel like excited about painting again because I've been away from it for a few weeks doing this other stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just another way to be
Element.
creative. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, and one feeds into another,
Yeah.
and like doing like, because the animations that you're showing me, you're doing like kind of like a mixed media where you take your paintings and start animating on top. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I thought would be the
Yeah.
simplest way to start because I'm still like, I'm not in a place where I can just chill and take a few months and make a bunch of animations. You know, it's like I've got this, I'm selling online and I got to keep the wheels rolling of this machine. So it seemed like, well, okay, I could either, you know, go back to what I was doing and relearn Lightwave again, because it's the only 3D program I ever learned. And, or I could animate these paintings that are already done. They already have like a history, they're well-known paintings. And then I can animate them in After Effects. And so that seemed like the smartest place to start anyway.
It is. It's like, because NFTs aren't like bound by any sort of medium. Like I've seen, you know, Ferocious and his paintings where it's like fine art paintings and then he animates afterwards. But you know, it's not like one or the other of like, if it's 3D, does it add value to it? No. Is it animated? It really just kind of, it's hard to kind of really judge the market right now because it's so new. But if at the end of the day, if it's like the art's good, the art's good.
Right,
You know?
right. Yeah, it always comes back to that to me is why I find it so exciting and fun is the art. The art. It comes back to the art always.
And we need more dark art. We need more monsters on Super Rare.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be refreshing.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully I can fit the bill there. I'm just kind of
Yeah.
waiting. I had that ego death animation ready to go. I got to do, actually, I need to do I want to do a little bit of audio that won't take me long. But, you know, Russia invaded Ukraine and it's like, probably not a good time to release an NFT. And it doesn't seem like a real, I don't know. It seems kind of like there's a dip right now. Crypto's really down. And so, but I don't know. It seems like when crypto's low, people might want to buy NFTs because they're paying less for it.
Yeah, there was that speculation. There was that kind of comment. And when, I mean, crypto was dipping maybe like early summer and then NFTs boomed, because last year how it was is like it was just kind of like an just an upward trajectory from January 2021 into like April. And then things just like boom, it just like dropped. And low sales, like, which kind of reflects right now a little bit.
Right.
And it was like low sales for like May, June, even into July. And then like I think Ethereum dropped in price. And right when that happened, like NFTs just like boomed. And
wow.
like one-on-ones and editions from artists were hopping. And then PFPs exploded and OpenSea and generative art was doing really well.
Right.
And there's a big wave up until like November, early December. And then I think because of, like what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, even like with like the financial market and inflation.
Yeah.
It took like a ding. And I think it's like, I feel like to me, just as much as like cryptocurrency, I think NFTs are going through like some sort of like growing pains, maybe. And going back, I just feel like people are more interested in quality over quantity. And I think I hear collectors, even some of my collectors, some of the big collectors in the space, like talking about that. So
that's good. That's good. I mean, that's the way it should be, really. I mean, when you got in, did you have any expectations? Like, or were you just kind of like, whatever happens, or how did you kind of approach it?
Well, column A, column B. It's just like it felt like seeing like fellow digital artist friends that like we follow each other, like Victor Mosquera and like Fuck Render and some of these other names, and Beeple, especially like with Beeple, it's like shit, dude. Like if people are that interested in digital art, like at that quality, like fuck, I can make a sale. Like, so you kind of have a bit of an expectation, but also it's like it feels like they always say like you're in the early stages, so you just ride the wave and see where the wave takes you.
Yeah.
which was really fun. And at the same time, you just kind of wanted to push yourself creatively. I started doing animations and started doing like motion capture stuff with my face. And
Oh,
I
really?
animated like about over a year ago. I animated a monkey with like these VR goggles, and like the on the it was like a screen, and on the screen it would change from like Bitcoin, and then it'll glitch and it'll change to like bananas, and you get really excited seeing the bananas.
That's great.
And just like a simple like social commentary, and not being afraid of like, I don't know if this is gonna sell, and it did well.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, I think people might like it. It has something to say, and that's like relevant to like the crypto space.
Right.
So
What,
just
what,
having fun.
so, I don't want to, again, I'm feeling very insecure about talking all NFTs because I want to get into more like technical stuff about your artwork, but
Yeah.
I want to ask one other thing about it. It's I mean I since I you know I'm so new still, although I don't feel like it because NFT space moves like 1 year equals 10 years in regular reality. But to me it feels like something that's not going to go away. Like it feels like it's just people keep saying it's, or a lot of people say it's a fad. It's like tulips or whatever they say, that stupid analogy. It's like the tulips in the 1800s when they were a fad. But to me, it feels like it's not going to go away. I just have this intuitive sense like it's gonna keep going. It's just too cool. There's too much cool stuff going on. There's too much creative energy there, and the potential for doing things that have never been done before is extremely high. And so I'm just curious what is your feeling about the whole NFT space in general? Do you feel like you're not sure, or you think it's going to be for the long haul, or do you have a feeling about that?
Yeah, like I mean, I always like to listen to my gut. Like my gut instinct is like the same as yours. Just it's not gonna like go away. There's just too many people involved, and it's just not like artists and collectors. It's also like companies and
Right.
investors. Like even like like PayPal and Visa getting involved in like the crypto space, and
Right.
you're seeing these big names that have nothing to do with like the art side of it, but also really believe in the
Yeah.
technology and what it's capable of doing, and kind of a new wave of economy. Because like the main argument with NFTs and crypto is like the carbon footprint, which I understand, but when you compare crypto and NFT space, like in the carbon footprint, it's not as like, as far as
Yeah.
I'm aware, I could be wrong. I don't want to spread
No, yeah,
misinformation.
we talked about this with
Yeah.
John Bainart, the guy who does the Toddler Pillars
Mhm.
project, and he's Australian arts. We talked a lot about the carbon footprint issue, and so I hear you for sure. I think it's total. I mean, especially when you compare it to everything else,
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
huge. It's not that huge. It's like people, I think people are extrapolating into the future, saying if it keeps going like this, it's
Mhm.
going to be insane.
Yeah.
But by
Yeah.
then, hopefully ETH 2 or whatever they're calling it now is going to kick in, and there's not going to be proof of work and all that stuff. So
Exactly. Yeah. So you guys, you get it. Your audience
yeah.
kind of gets it. So, yeah, and I think that has a lot of potential, like in a real positive way. And kind of going back is just, I think there's just too many people like invested, involved, big names involved in it. And, part of it, people fight against it. There's so many different reasons why people fight against it. Maybe people are afraid that they just like missed out and they can't entry into NFTs because it can be expensive. But
Yeah, right.
that's like the beauty of like releasing multiple editions
Yeah, or
for.
different chains too that don't cost a lot to mint and stuff.
Yeah, like Hen's great, and Tezos is really great. It's very low carbon footprint.
Right.
And a lot of the artwork that's released on there is like a couple $100 or like $100 or 50
Yeah.
bucks, and that's
Yeah,
like
it's
a print.
cool. Yeah, totally. It's great.
Yeah, so that can really introduce, if people are like wary and like kind of nervous about the kind of the money aspect of it, which is completely understandable.
Yeah.
I think, you know, we live in such a like economy is such a like a silly thing in itself, and like it's everything's so topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
And I get why people would be upset seeing like someone make $500,000 on a Bored Ape, and while you know COVID just happened.
Yeah,
So
it's from that perspective, it's easy to see why people, if you look at that and go, oh my God, I hate it. It's like, okay, I understand. But I guess the main thing people should realize is that that's not just that. Yeah. That's one crazy part of it. But it's so big. It's so huge. There's so much, there's things that haven't even been thought of yet that are going to be amazing that no one's even thought of yet. That's how big the space is and how much potential there is to do cool art stuff in it.
Exactly. I think people get so caught up in the noise and whatever headlines it is, and they just type an NFT and they go to news under Google, and they're going to lead into like PFPs and even South Park doing their episode with Butters and all of that.
I still haven't seen that. I keep hearing about it though.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and it kind of captures the NFT PFP vibe, and that's kind of made the general public understanding. But once people really start seeing the different ways that you can utilize it with, I think it's going to be eye-opening. I think it's just so speculative right now, and I think a lot of the heart and spirit is, to me, definitely in the art side of it.
Yeah.
Whereas the speculative and the gambling and just having fun is probably in the PFP.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it seems to me like, it seems like, and I was surprised to see this when I got in. It's like a lot of it seems like the collectors are way into art. You know, I assumed when I got in, it's all going to be just like people speculating on trying to flip their things and make money, which there is a lot of that as well. But I don't know. I see a lot of big collectors displaying their collections and like really into art and really proud of what they own and just liking, just like a regular collector in the traditional art world would be. They like to show their work off. It represents them as a person because it's their taste, what they like, and they love it.
Yeah. And I feel like that whole collector spirit has been around for like centuries.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And what's even really cool is one of my collectors of mine in the past, he started getting back into art. He's like a financial trader, day trader by day, got into crypto. And since NFTs, he's like bought a lot of one-on-ones, and he bought profile pictures and got into the Bored Apes. But all of a sudden he's like, I haven't drawn since I was a kid. So he started drawing again.
Oh, how cool. That's amazing. Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah, I mean, I shout out to, it's OSF. He's on Twitter, and I love that story about him. How he's put up a few pieces on foundations, and
that's amazing. That's like that's a beautiful thing, really. I mean, and that goes overlooked all the time with criticism of the space. We talked about this, I think, with John Bainart. Is that I think it was with John, or maybe it was with Jamie. I don't know. I've been talking about it a lot lately since January. But the fact that it's like it's not only a renaissance for digital artists, but it's a renaissance for people who've never created art before. You know, it's like, hey, I can play in this space. I might not be like really great at it or whatever. I haven't drawn since I was a kid. I kind of like falling back in love with art, creating art as well, and being able to display it and play in that space as well. It's like, what's wrong with that? That's amazing. You know, the more people creating art, the better. I think it's like, it's a good, healthy thing to do, you know, as a human being.
Yeah, really. It really is. I think it's kind of like having your own, journal, your own kind of personal dialogue, and be able to kind of speak some truth and
or just express yourself, express how you feel. You know, it's like, that's a good thing. It's a good thing for society. Uh-oh, you froze. Oh shit, you're frozen. Oh, there you go. You're back. You're back.
Are we
Oh,
good?
good.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna
I'm
have to
back.
restart the call. You froze there for a minute.
I think we're good. I think we
Okay,
got stable internet now.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's just another cool aspect of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so shout out to that dude.
Yeah, for
Um,
real.
so anyway, okay, let's get off NFTs a little
Yeah.
bit. What's the one of the first things I asked you when we were talking on Twitter is like, how are you creating this work?
Mhm.
It's I couldn't I still, I kind of have an idea maybe now after you told me. You kind of just gave me an overview a little bit, but so you're modeling things in 3D and rendering them out and then bringing them into a 2D program. Are you okay with talking about it, or is it
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I've talked about it in the past on other.
okay? And then
Yeah.
you're like, how are you turning that? Are you rendering like a cell shader type thing and then rendering it out, or how are you doing this? Because you have like this specific look that's hard to pin down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like an approach from where I kind of flip it on its head, where usually like things go from 2D, like a sketch, and then I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to bring into a 3D program and model on top of it. It goes from 2D to 3D, and then like kind of a bit of post effects on top of it. Whereas for me is like, I to kind of go back and rewind a little bit back is I used to kind of like, yeah, draw moleskin with like Copic pins and kind of just put things out on, pen on paper and how I felt and stuff. But to me, it was like so like time consuming, and I felt like being like such a lazy artist.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I was like, rather than just drawing straight on pen and paper, because I love illustrating. I love the feeling of illustrating pieces and having a kind of an illustrative feel to it. I was like, rather than just going straight from pen and paper, why don't I just like jump into 3D? Because I learned so much 3D doing the visual effects industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of popped into Maya. I used Maya for my 3D rendering and Daz 3D to like kind of pose a character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just looking into the, I remember Daz 3D back when it was back like during Bryce 3D. Remember Bryce 3D?
Yeah, I remember like talking to Meets Meyer about this. We're like working in the VFX industry. Everyone gave us shit for using Bryce and like
I
all that
remember
stuff.
getting Bryce from Comp USA in the box and going home and being like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I'm making this landscape. And it took forever to render this line going down.
like dial up internet. Just like yeah.
So that and it's funny because I was looking at Dad's 3D because I keep seeing people talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy. This is
It's like
so
what people
different.
uses. I mean, he
Yeah.
uses.
Yeah. I can see how it like, this is amazing, actually. It used to be kind of like, I remember it was kind of like a cheesy program back in the day. And now it's like these super realistic figures that you can do
Yeah.
anything with. It's amazing.
Yeah, like the figures have gotten better. They don't look silly.
Mhm.
And so like, yeah, I model something, pose something like real basic and Daz, and then put some clothes on them, or maybe they're a nude figure with like a skeletal system that's attached to their body. So
Mhm.
however like they're rigged, like their skeletal system will move with them.
Right.
And then I drop it into a 3D program, have the pose and the composition already set in place through Daz. And then
Mhm.
within Maya, that's where I start introducing lights and colors and adding like the camera. And then what I started getting really into with the recent work is playing with like refracted surfaces. Like the skin is like this refracted surface where you
Right.
can see the skeletal system.
Mhm.
And sometimes even the skeletal system is like refracted
Right.
texture. And I throw light inside the body, and it just kind of like has a really cool look to it. It just looks
Mhm.
fucking cool.
Yeah.
And they started introducing colors, and then with these 3D softwares, you can start introducing tune shader. No, yeah, it's like tune line work. So you
Right.
start getting like a real rough line work of like the skeletal system and like the body. And then you just start shooting out all these different render passes with Maya, and I use V-Ray to render out stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so much like layers that the 3D software can spit out that I can really play around with.
Yeah.
And then I throw it into Photoshop and I start just like bashing on top and like doing like broken skulls and just disintegrating the skeleton and just adding all these like illustrative like nuances,
Just hand painting on everything.
exactly, to give it, to kind of pull it away from like the 3D feel and more of like a hand done
Right.
with a bit of like the 3D vibe
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
And then I throw it in a software like Nuke, and which is like compositing software. And it's called a normal pass within the 3D, and it'll kind of give the illusion of being able to kind of relight the subject. So I do
Really?
these like, yeah, like I can add in like a lighting pass, and it'll kind of make the body flicker and have these
Wow.
different like nuanced like lighting effects. And it just kind of like reintroduces like that 3D feel to it, but also like I don't know, it looks fucking cool.
It does.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, this is dope. It's just playing around and just
Yeah. That's what was, what intrigued me so much about 3D when I first got into it was, especially when I started learning multi-pass rendering, for which people who don't know, it's like you can render one pass of specularity or the glossiness of an object. You can layer a diffusion pass, which is like how the light absorbs on the object, or the shadow pass or whatever, all these different passes, and then there are layers, and then you can adjust all that stuff in a compositing program, so you're not stuck to whatever you rendered in the 3D. Like that was key for me with my stuff, is like that skeleton thing I did. It was like I rendered one skeleton, it was bent, I put bones in it, and I just made him rotate in place one time in a loop. And then all the rest, I was just duplicating that. I rendered it out with an alpha channel, and I was just duplicating that and shrunk it down to make it look like it was going down. It's like I didn't even do like 3D layers in After Effects. It was just like all cheating. Yeah, it's just all cheats to make it look that way. And I love that. You can get creative outside of the three, because it's like hard to really, doing a whole finished thing in 3D is very difficult, and renders take a long time. And if you mess up, it's like it's just a lot of work. But I love having everything in pieces and then being able to adjust everything in a 2D program where it's faster and a little more,
exactly,
like improvisational or whatever. You can just kind of like change things up and get creative.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. And I think a lot of that is learning, from like the VFX industry,
right?
Going into the early 2000s and up to the 2010s, you can only do so much in 3D back then, even like in the VFX industry. So it really like weighed heavily on just doing like these really cool, fun 2D comp tricks.
Right.
And
yeah.
kind of just having fun with that. Cause even to this day, even though you can render something pretty quickly, just putting it all together can be pretty time consuming if you're just doing it in 3D. So
yeah. It's kind of like my idea with makeup effects originally, because I was doing sculpture first. I was thinking I can get out of be a sculptor in fine art, and then that just was like too cost prohibitive and time prohibitive and too expensive, too hard to sell sculptures that I wanted to do. And then I got into painting. But just kind of out of practicality sake, and I like painting too, but my idea was like, okay, I'm going to take everything I've learned in the last 15 years of makeup effects, and I'm going to apply that to my art. You know what I mean? And it's sort of like what you're saying, all the stuff you learned in visual effects, you're able to apply. I used to joke and say, I'm using it for good instead of evil now. It's like, instead of working on some, trashy movie that nobody, or some dumb movie, or your piece doesn't get seen or whatever, it's like, now I'm taking all this knowledge, this hard-earned knowledge, 40 hours a week for years and years, and apply it to something that matters to me, which is my artwork, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, totally. I think that's just a healthy like change in your career. And you can really see it is because you went from like, yeah, sculpting for film, and then you still feel like there's just so much depth in your artwork. And I think in your paintings, because
Mm.
you use oil paints, right?
Yeah.
And I think how does it feel for you, like as an artist, to paint oil compared to acrylic? Because does it feel like you just have so much more control and depth in your paintings?
I mean, it's funny because I just did some hand embellished G clay the other day. So I just broke out the acrylics, and I was like kind of enjoying that, the fast drying aspect of it. But the you know, I remember my dad used to tell me about a guy named Chuck Wren, who was an illustrator, and he was like, because my dad was an oil painter, and he said this guy Chuck Wren does all acrylics, and his stuff looks totally like oil. And really, it's how you know, you can make acrylics, you can make them indistinguishable of each other, really,
Wow.
depending on your technique. But for me, oils, you know, I prefer oils because, you know, I started with
Slow
the
drying.
yeah, but it's like I started off in acrylics because I was using acrylics and makeup effects for painting creatures and stuff. That was all like a lot of that was acrylic paint based, and we rarely used oil paint. So I had a solid background in that. So my first painting was an acrylic, and then I was like, okay, you know, it was more like my dad was an oil painter. All my favorite painters are oil painters, so I'm going to teach myself how to paint in oils. And it was kind of difficult at first to figure it out, but once I figured it out, then I never went back because, you know, something as simple as the paint drying on the palette while you're working is a real pain in the ass with acrylics, you know.
It
And it's
is.
like my paint up here, you know, this is like I could poke a hole in it. It's been sitting here for weeks, and I could poke a hole in most of them and get fresh paint out of there. Or if after a couple days it hasn't skinned over anything, like it'll sit there for a week without skinning over. Um, but just being able to blend it and not worry about things drying. But and glazing's the main thing, is that you know, with acrylic glazing it's a little trickier because, you know, if you're using glazing mediums in acrylic, it's like it kind of like turns whitish. It's that whitish.
It makes
I
it
don't
more
know.
like opaque and
It just
kind of.
looks opaque until it dries. It looks, you know what I mean? It's almost got like a white film until it dries. So you can't really see it that well. But with oils, you paint it on and that's how it's going to dry. It's not going to change color. It's not going to darken,
See,
you know.
that reminds me of when I was getting back in, yeah, acrylic paintings. Is like I would start painting it. And I'm like, oh man, I'm loving this color of blue or
And then it
pink,
dries.
and they're like, what the fuck? They're like, no, and it's like this battle. It was like this weird battle, and
You always have to
um,
paint a little bit lighter than you want it to,
yeah,
you know.
and it was like I was having a battle with it, and I knew that I just wanted to do acrylic because it was maybe like cheaper. Or it was just like it was so easy to kind of
Mhm.
work with. But
Yeah.
there was like this for I haven't used oil painting since probably I was like a kid and stuff, but
Mhm.
there's something different experience in it. I can see it going from as a sculpturist into oil.
It
It makes
is
sense.
more sculptural. It feels more sculptural than acrylics do to me because, you know, you can lay it down and you're kind of pushing it around in a way because it's not drying.
Mhm.
And so it's like it feels more like sculpture than acrylic. Whereas acrylic, it's like you kind of, unless you're using one of those non-drying mediums, that kind of helps, but still not the same feeling. Um, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
feel like
it feels more sculptural, and it doesn't really make sense, I guess, unless you know paint, but it feels closer to sculpture than acrylics. I don't know why though.
yeah, it's like there's like yeah, a sense of like depth and playfulness with it, and that you can like just kind of like create something from nothing. Like you go from like creating nothing to like creating something cool. You just kind of add and build on top of that. Whereas I feel like acrylic, 'cause I've seen like James Jean's art where he will like plan his color palette, and this is the kind of color I'm going to use for, even maybe Cause does it. I think he might use acrylic too.
Mhm.
This is the specific color, and this is how it looks like when it's dried.
Right. Yeah.
And for this specific area, it's more like maybe a design brain you got to have for in that.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I've seen so many different
Mhm.
people painting so differently. Like what's his name? The acrylic painter who I think Todd Shore. You know Todd Shore? Todd Shore,
Maybe.
Schorr. He's kind of like him and Mark Ryden were the two big painters for in the 90s.
Yeah.
Mark Ryden's big time. So is Todd Shore now, but his stuff looks totally like oil, and it's all, I think it's all acrylic. But Greg Simpkins, Crayola, that guy Crayola, Greg Simpkins, he does stuff that looks like oil, and it's acrylic, and he doesn't use any mediums. He just uses water and acrylic, and he's getting an amazing result. So it really is just how you,
the technique of it.
Yeah, the technique. And it's like, you know how it is. Every artist is different. That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, where you're like sitting there like, how the hell did they do that?
Yeah.
Kind of scratch your brain. And I think that's one of the funnest parts of like art, where it's like you play with like a new medium, and you're just like wondering, how did this person put this all together?
Yeah.
It makes you want to look at it even longer and stuff. So it's pretty wild. Yeah, like what for you as an artist, like what's like one of your earliest memories, like being inspired and like all right, this is what I want to do as an artist, or this is what I want to do, like get into makeup effects? Do you remember like
I was let's see. I mean, I was always drawing monsters and stuff when I was a kid because I was into horror movies, but I draw like trucks and motorcycles and army men and just people fighting wars, stuff that boys draw.
Mm-hmm.
But I got into filmmaking when I was like 9 or 10. I found my dad's Super 8 camera and I started making Super 8 films. So I was like really into it, and I liked movies. But then I saw Dawn of the Dead, the 78 version of Dawn of the Dead, the original.
Yeah.
And it's super gory. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it, shocked me. And I was wondering how they made that stuff. And then I saw The Howling with that werewolf transformation that totally blew my mind. And I was just like, I was like, I have to learn how to do this. I got to learn how they do this stuff. It's so cool. And so then I went off on, that was all I dropped everything. Cause I was like, I was getting into, I'd had my first motorcycle race. Like I was getting into I was like riding dirt bikes, wanted to be a professional dirt bike racer. And I dropped everything when I got into effects and just started pursuing that, and all the way through high school, and didn't even consider fine art until I was like 33 years old, I think. After, I got into effects right after high school and just kept doing it. And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, this isn't, magical anymore for me. So I want to start doing my own thing. And then I started working towards getting out and being a fine artist. And then I didn't know what to paint at first. And then I was like, I'm just going to do monsters like I used to do when I was a little kid, and
I feel like it kind of went full circle.
Yeah.
Because like you get to that point where you're just like so motivated, and so, like I know that feeling of like growing up in specific films and like, dude, like I want to like work on like a film and be a part of that, and like even having like my name in the credits, like that's so cool. And then like the film's done, and then you see the credits roll, and your name's kind of like right there with like a big wall of credits. Like, this isn't as cool as like
that's so weird.
Yeah.
Who was I just yesterday? Who was I just telling this to? It was yesterday or the day before. I was telling someone that exact same thing. Like
that feeling.
Exactly what you said. Like I was waiting. It was my bit, get you see your name on the screen, and then you see it and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. And then after that, it's like, it's not exciting at all. It's just like,
I mean, how was it though that because you did Dark Man, right? In the 80s. I didn't I was too I was kind of, I grew up like on Tales in the Crypt and then you definitely worked on like Hellboy. Did you feel like you had like a creative say in that and felt like it was like how was that experience?
Hellboy 2 I did. Hellboy 1 was great because I met Guillermo for the first time. He's super great. He was actually, I did the right hand of doom, his stone hand. I sculpted that. And they just gave me a Mike Mignola sketch, and Mike Mignola style, outline. Here's the designs, the kind of occult symbols. And then I just sculpted that, but I like picked it, made it cracked, and made it look like stone. And Guillermo's like, he's such an easy guy to work with. He's like one of these guys that will pick the artist they like and then let them do their thing. And he's got a great artistic eye. So he, any suggestions are good. They're not just like a lot of people, how it is. I'm sure it's like this in visual effects where people are giving input just so they can say that, tell their friends at the golf course that they made they made a design contribution to something.
Exactly.
when it doesn't need to be there.
I always felt that, like, I remember seeing that hand with like Hellboy, and it felt like there was like a real like great back and forth. Like he wanted to hear your creative say, and it felt like a very like a collaborative maybe experience in some sense.
Yeah. He's I always say if there were more Guillermos in the industry, I probably wouldn't have left it.
Exactly.
But it's so rare to find a director like that.
And it goes back to like, there's so many clients that, your work gets lost in it. And then you're saying like, I was saying with the, like your name is just kind of part of the
or even for I mean, I may be wrong, but for makeup effects people, it's even worse. It's even worse because I can't tell you how many times my credit has been below craft services, which is the people that do the food on set, for people who don't know. And it's a fine job. It's a legitimate job. But I mean, as far as contributing creatively to the movie, we should be at least above craft services. But it's like, you got no respect in that business until I started working at Rick Baker's. It was like no respect. You just,
and Rick's a legend.
And you have to work for like a guy like that to get any kind of, and even then you're just like, oh, it's one name, he gets the title credit and then the whole crew gets everything at the end. But it's, he worked hard for that, and he's really good too, so he's amazing.
Exactly.
He's a great artist, so
there's just that there's a duality in the whole space of like, like you can't get the recognition you deserve, but then there's such like fun client and opportunities and relationships that you can
I know
build from it that are so memorable, and like you can't like trade that.
I know, and it's fun when you do find a person worth collaborating with, someone that adds something like Guillermo or like Adam Jones. It's like him and I have always just clicked together creatively, and it's it's these relationships where you work with someone and immediately you click with them creatively, and you're just like feeding off each other's ideas, and it's amazing.
Like going back, I mean, I remember I worked on like Iron Man 3, and it was actually a really chill job. I wasn't like grinding too hard. I was working like in Venice at Digital Domain. Great crew, like it was really super chill. It wasn't like a crazy deadline, and I'm like, I lived out in Torrance, California, and I'm
that's right, Torrance. We talked about. I used to Pedro is like 20 minutes from Torrance. We used to go to the mall. We used to go to Torrance to go to the mall.
The Del Almo or something.
Del Almo Mall.
Yeah, there it is.
There was two malls in Torrance. There was the Old Town Mall and there was the Del Almo Mall.
And the Del Almo Mall was like the really big one. They shot one of the
biggest one in the world at one point. Yeah, they shot some movie there.
Yeah, the Quentin Tarantino film, one of his early films.
Oh yeah. Jackie Brown, I think maybe. Yeah, right.
And I went to the Del Almo Mall and with my wife, and we went and saw Iron Man 3 and worked on and getting excited. Oh, there's my shot. And like, I don't think no one ever fucking cares? It's cool. But there's the thing that I sat and looked at for like, 5 weeks. And that's pretty cool. And then I sat there like, all right, let's watch the credits. And then, yep, there's like my name buried in it. And it's like, I had a moment where I'm like, man, I'd rather have my artwork in a gallery because that would be way more satisfactory than that shit.
Totally, man.
But fast forward after, working on a film like that, I hooked up with a director. He's like an indie director, Eddie Alcazar, and he works with they did some like really surreal, like kind of visceral, crazy films. But the thing with Eddie, because I got to work with Eddie Alcazar, the director, and then it was produced by Steven Soderbergh.
Oh, cool.
Which was, like, and Eddie and I like clicked, and like we saw, like we were both inspired by a lot of like all the earlier directors like in the 90s, and we just kind of had like a same creative taste. And he reached out to me because he loved my Xsullo artwork and
cool,
my colorful artwork, and he's like, I want you to do the poster art for my indie film. I'm like, for sure.
This is how it should be, where it's like you're getting hired because of your personal artwork.
Yeah.
Instead of, I mean, I feel like, since I've gone away and become a fine artist, I get hit up once in a while to do special jobs like that. And it feels so much better than being in a factory setting, to where you're the guy that does this and you sit there for 5 weeks and you do your thing and you go home at night. When they come back to you for your art, they automatically kind of give you more respect because you're an artist. And whereas when you're working in a shop, you're the same guy, the same amount of talent, but you're just like a hand. You're a piece of the machine. You know what I mean?
Whereas there's certain people that, they seek you out and they themselves are inspired, and they're like, I can see where this will add, an interesting element into my project. And there's like a level of like kind of respect. And
totally.
That can totally go a long way.
Yeah.
And then, he's like, you want to do the poster art? And he's like, I also have some visual effects stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I do like matte painting and VFX. He's like, oh really? Like I need to do all these like visual stuff for
cool
film. So like kind of like organic, natural. And he's one of those clients that I always go back to.
Yeah. Well, that's how I am with Guillermo and with Adam Jones. And there was a director, Scott, what's his last name? It's been a while. This movie Priest I worked on. It was one of my first freelance gigs after I was a fine artist and left the industry. He had me doing designs, and he was super cool and easy to work with. Really nice guy, Oh, and this guy Joe Begas, who did this movie Bliss that I worked on.
Scott Stewart.
Scott Stewart. Yeah,
I remember Priest. Priest is dope.
Yeah, he's like he was a visual effects guy also. Scott was, but really a great guy to work with. And this, I got this movie Bliss. These guys hit me up. Joe Begas, I forget his partner's name. I apologize. The producer, really cool indie filmmakers hit me up to do this painting in this movie. It's about an artist it's like a horror, really cool, like exploitation, trashy art horror movie. It's really cool, like kind of like a vampire movie. It's just came out a few years ago. God, maybe it's longer than I think, but I did the painting that she's supposed to be working on throughout the film, and she like transforms. Cool. She takes this crazy drug and makes her turn into this crazy vampire, and she's killing all these people and stuff. But she's working on this painting the whole time. So I got to do the painting for the movie, and then they gave me an upfront credit.
Wow!
First time ever in my career. It's
goddamn time.
I know. It's called Bliss.
Bliss. All right, I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's a crazy movie. Really, it's you'll dig it. It's got like your color scheme.
Yeah,
it's kind of got that kind of blue, blue pink color scheme.
Yeah,
it's totally got that. It's really cool.
And when did this come out?
I don't know. Now I gotta look here. Okay, Bliss.
My wife loves horror, so whatever horror you'll mention, I
Oh,
can
really?
show it to her. Yeah, she's a big horror.
Oh,
horror
excellent.
buff.
2019 it came out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's pretty raunchy. I don't know if it's
love it.
it's very
Oh,
raunchy,
yeah.
but it's super
Oh, yeah.
violent, super raunchy. But what it was cool about it's like it's very artistically done. You know what I mean? It's like got a lot of like raunchy sex
No,
scenes and super gory, violent stuff, but it's really like, and it was super low budget, but you could just, it's artistically done well. It's really cool. Like it's lit well. It's like, and it was a
yeah.
small crew of people just like getting together, making this. Everyone was inspired and into what they were doing. It was such a cool thing to be a part of.
I love it. I already love the poster. I see
Yeah, the
what you mean.
poster's cool. I didn't do the poster, but yeah, you'll
That's
see it.
That's
see
gonna
it.
be dope. Like, hey, there it is. I love that. And like, yeah, my wife has like, I trust her taste. Like, we're last movies that like we're really into horror wise. I mean, there are different takes. Is like Hereditary.
Yeah,
And
that's the one. That's probably the last thing I saw that I thought that's a really good scary ass horror movie.
Daytime horror.
Yeah,
it's like in broad daylight.
Yep.
And cult horror. And wait, no, that I'm thinking of it's Hereditary, and then the one after it that he did, Midsommar.
Oh
Midsommar.
yeah.
Daytime
that was
horror.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And then like Hereditary is like
great movie.
It's like, yeah, the family tree of fucked up the dude.
I mean that to me that, you know, even if the whole movie was shit, which it wasn't, seeing a headless body floating in the night sky, it was like I saw it and I was like, all right, this guy is a genius, whoever he is who made this. That is the coolest, creepiest image I've seen. I can't even think of the last time I saw something that creepy and surreal and weird. You know, it's not standard like scary monster that's frowning with the squinty brows, angry monster. No, it's like bizarre. It makes you feel weird because it's so creepy and incongruent with normal, you know.
Shit.
Yeah.
It is fucking crazy. And like I love it. And was it the guy that did Us? And
that was cool too.
Now I always draw a blank with that stuff. Like
Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Jordan Peele. I forget the other one of Us. Us. No, Us.
He did Us with the dancer and the girl, and it like, oh man.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I got an excuse because I'm old, so.
I get on here, I'm like, oh yeah, I would love to talk about this film, and I get on here, I'm like, oh shit, what was it called? Get Out. Yeah, Get Out.
There you go. Yeah, that was great.
It's like a different take, like on horror. It's
totally
very like
it's creative.
The guy that did Psycho, it kind of brought me back to Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And
speaking of your wife, so Xsullo is like this. It's like you and your wife working together on the art. How does this work?
Yeah, so like
a team.
Yeah, like there's a lot of the times that like I'll sit down and just kind of make the art myself, but a lot of the chunk of the art too is her. I kind of consider her as like an art director.
Oh, cool.
So I like come to her with like an idea, and she has more of a designer brain because like we met in art school.
Oh, how cool. That's great.
And she kind of like, you know, you need to be able to tweak the composition like this, adjust the characters like this. It'll be more balanced, like, because sometimes I just throw shit together.
Right.
And it doesn't like, there's something off about it, like 90% of the time. But she sees like what kind of message I'm trying to say. But she's like, why don't you adjust the character like this and move the camera like that and position things a little more balanced? And she really kind of helps fine tune things and kind of like have that designer brain. And then she also kind of comes up with like the titles and like the description of the artwork. So she kind of sees it from like kind of the start and finish part of it. And, you know, when it comes to the color and the lighting and the drawing, she lets me have fun with it. But I trust like her overall eye of what makes
That's
a piece strong.
super cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
And you're also not like alone in it. You know, you
Yeah.
have someone to bounce things off of, and
Does
that's,
this
I
look
mean,
like shit? And
yeah,
she's like, yeah, it looks like
yeah. I do that with my wife too, but she just says
I love it.
I don't give her the credit.
Yeah. She's like, honey, that looks like shit.
Yeah. Worst critic.
Yeah.
But I
It's
mean
the,
that it obviously is working because, you know, you don't have a bad piece. You know, it's like there's not a piece
appreciate
I
it.
can look at. It's like, that's not quite there. Or, you
I
know, it's like
appreciate
you
it.
see that sometimes with artists. It's like, oh, that wasn't their best effort. But it's almost like you have like a system of checks and balances to make sure that only the good shit gets out the door. You know what I mean? It has to
Yeah.
hit a certain level, and you've got 4 pairs of eyes on it instead of 2 to make sure that happens every time, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I feel like I get more like that with the NFT stuff compared to the stuff I put on like on Instagram, especially before like censorship and getting censored a lot. Because I was a big issue in 2018, 2019. Sometimes I'll just like, like I'll ask my wife, like, hey, is this isn't like too over the edge or too raunchy,
Mm-hmm.
and she'll get a big laugh out of it. Like, this is funny. It's like, you know, renders of dicks coming out of Skull's eyes or this ridiculous shit that she's like, this is it plays like I did this a lot of play on like transgender horror characters, which I think was really fun, of like making like these Michael Myers as like this beautiful busty woman
Oh, that's
with like
great.
blade, and my wife like totally like catered to that and totally kind of like helped me like come up with that stuff, because what we loved about it is it kind of flipped itself on its head. So
Mm-hmm.
some of the raunchy stuff that I'm known for like on Instagram was thanks to my wife, because there's like we just sat there and like, this is ridiculous, this is like silly, stupid, but we're having so much fun.
Right.
But the negative side of that is like we just starting to get banned and getting
Oh, wow.
censored on Instagram for showing
A
probably
nipple.
yeah, they didn't like the nipple, they didn't, it just got weirder and weirder, and it kind of became difficult to you kind of really had to like watch what you post. And I got to a
Right.
point where I actually got banned, my account removed right when I hit like 100K.
Oh, no
I
way.
got removed off of Instagram like 2019, and I was like, I opened up the account and it was just not available. I'm like, oh shit, I like, because this is around when I was just like pushing buttons
Uh-huh.
and just like coming up with like not safe for work art,
Right.
because it was illustrative. I'm like, I can get away with it. And I just
Uh-huh.
like pushed it too hard and got it banned and taken down for like a week. But then luckily I was able to know someone to be able to get my account back
Oh my
up and
God.
running. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, oh shit, there goes like all my followers and like
Yeah.
possible clients. And I guess I won't do that again. So
Damn. Do you promote your NFT stuff on Instagram? Because I notice a lot of NFT hate on Instagram that is not on Twitter.
yeah,
So how do you
correct.
handle that? Because I haven't, I've only done 3, so it's not a lot to promote. But I haven't really promoted on other platforms other than Twitter.
So yeah, promoting on Instagram like hasn't been a problem, but I'm aware that like there's a lot of artists that like they put their stuff out there and they get so much hate on IG. But yeah, honestly, promoting has definitely, like, I've been doing it since starting NFT now over a year.
Maybe because
And
you already
yeah,
you were doing digital stuff, and so you had kind of the
maybe.
right audience for it.
Yeah, I think so, because I hear more of people wanting to like collect my stuff, especially like lower price edition counts. And um yeah, I'm thankful that, like, I didn't feel the heat on Instagram,
Or the hate.
yeah, exactly. But then again, like doing all that raunchy stuff, I got so much hate for
Oh,
it from
right,
like the
right.
wrong people, because I did I did a lot of anti-Trump stuff, which pissed
Uh-huh.
off, which is fun.
Yeah, that's that's
It's
those
beauty of
those are
art.
the people you want to piss off. Sorry.
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
so one thing I wanted to ask you is, okay, the stuff that you were doing before you were doing the NFTs and you're painting stuff, right? You're kind of doing, are they like, is your painting, physical paintings, like basically what you're doing digitally but painted in acrylics?
Yeah, it all started like digital, and
So you're creating, you're doing everything the same and then projecting it onto the canvas and then painting it to finish it.
not to finish it, but to kind of like make a physical like duplicate of it in a
Oh,
way.
okay. So you would take it like all the way digitally and then you would
Yeah,
reproduce it. Oh my God, what a trip.
yeah,
That's a
yeah, and
cool, that's a really cool, interesting thing to do. I've never heard of that before.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just like, because I wanted to kind of keep that fine art spirit in me and alive, and
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, to finish it in digital, and it like to me, if it's like, oh, this is like a really strong piece, like I definitely want to be able to like recreate this like visually, like on canvas. It's
Mm-hmm.
like then I just kind of decided, okay, yeah, I'll put it on canvas and take it from there.
Wow. That's a trip. So you're using your digital for your reference, basically, like your digital. So you're doing all that work, finished
Yeah,
thing, and then you're painting that thing. Um,
yeah,
that's really
it
cool.
yeah, it's like I think that yeah, this is all before the NFT space. So like I knew that there was so much value in fine art still. And I kind of wanted to be able to recreate my digital pieces into paintings to be able to like possibly sell the paintings.
Right, right.
But it got to a point where NFTs popped up and I'm like, oh,
Uh,
I guess I don't need to paint.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, have you done it? Have you painted any since, or you just?
Yeah, and I haven't, unfortunately, honestly. Like I feel like I have time now. I've loved I'm gonna be yeah, having a little bit more space and time to paint. And I think I want to get back into it because I think you get too comfortable doing the digital stuff in ways. So you might have
Mm-hmm.
to kind of go back into the fine art, which I think it really helps like kind of push yourself. Now you think it kind of in a creative block.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like I was saying earlier, it's good to switch things up to stay inspired and try different techniques and stuff. So I bet you anything when you go back to doing your first painting now after all this time, or I don't know, a year, or whatever, year and a half or whatever, 2 years, you'll be like a better painter. I bet you, because you'll have all this painting built up in you that you haven't been able to express. That's how it is for me. It's like if I take
Yeah.
long breaks, when I do it, it's like I'm better. It's sometimes you need like a break to get better. It seems like
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
weird.
It is weird because you kind of want to because you think of like the creativity as like a muscle. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I gotta work that muscle out every day. But I guess just like a muscle,
Yeah, you got to rest the muscle too in order
yeah,
for it to repair and build.
you need rest days, and
Yeah.
sometimes this could be like a month long.
Yeah. I think it's like a certain, when you get to a certain point, then it's like you do have to build that muscle memory and bust your ass and
Yeah,
repetition to where you get the muscle memory and you get really good at it. And then there's a point where this has only been I don't know, maybe past 5 years. When I take a break, if I take a break and I get back to it, I feel like I've leveled up a little bit somehow,
yeah,
because I've been holding it back or something. It's a trip.
yeah, yeah. I
Weird.
think there's some sort of it is a trip. Like I don't understand. Maybe it's just like you're able to like think of it as like a creative well of like water fills
Mhm.
like you take a break and that well kind of fills up and you just push it out and then gets to the point where the well starts to drain and you start kind of like feeling creatively drained
Right,
and you
right. You
can't
have to
really
build back
produce.
up again, maybe.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a good
like
point. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like how I yeah, like I've always had ebbs and flows, even since I was a kid. There's always points of the year that I feel like the most creative, and then points of the year where I feel like the least creative.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
What a
always,
trip.
yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I thought of something I wanted to tell you. I got an itch in my back. Back scratcher.
That's the way to go.
um,
Back
I,
scratcher.
I wanted to mention it because it just occurred to me because I've been going. This is weird for me. Again, we're gonna get into NFT talk again. So sorry if you're not into it, people. But every time I get, I bet you people don't have a problem with it, and it's all me projecting and being insecure because usually when I think that people have an issue with something I'm saying, nobody has an issue with it. So then I probably should just shut up about it because it's probably fine. But this got me thinking about, I'm getting back to these digital roots, right, from 20 years ago. Another weird thing that just occurred to me the other day, or no, while talking to you, I mean, from back in the day, back in when I was doing digital, I was trying to get into it, visual effects, like starting my own little boutique company. I wanted to work at Digital Domain. That was my dream, but I was too chicken to go for it. But so I made a demo reel of my 3D animation, and it was a bunch of the stuff that Tool ended up using. It was like looping art videos. It was on a video cassette, VHS. And I sent that to Clive Barker because I had a kind of a working relationship with him a little because we worked on that movie Lord of Illusions, and we were going to do me and my boss were going to do like toys with him, but that fell through. But I sent him the videotape of my digital stuff, and I was trying to get work out of him, saying, hey, do you have any visual effects work I could do? And he said, no, but I saw your demo reel and I think you should get into fine art because you have a vision. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even consider that. And that was like one of the first things that got me into fine art. So it's like the digital stuff actually led me into painting and fine art, which is totally weird that I'm coming back to that again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it's kind of go full circle.
Yeah. Right? And it just never occurred to me that, that digital was the doorway to painting and fine art for me, which is totally weird.
It is a trip. Like there was like, something exciting about the digital stuff in the early 2000s, but to be honest, like the fine art stuff was more lucrative, like as an individual.
Right. Yeah. Unless you're like doing effect stuff for movies, that was the only way to make any money.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fascinating how like kind of life unfolds and leads you in places you didn't really expect. And
totally, man.
And I think like the NFT space is so welcoming to the old and new,
right?
And the convergence of it and combining like your animated oil paintings with is super cool. Like I haven't seen enough of that stuff in this space. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's one thing that that I noticed right away is how cool everybody was. I didn't get any shit from anybody. Everyone was super cool to me. No one was giving me a hard time. I felt like, oh, I'm in someone else's space, so I got to be really respectful, which is true, but no one else was acting like that to me. They were all like, oh, that's so cool you're doing this, and offering help. People that didn't even know my work or anything were offering me help just because I was in Twitter spaces asking questions and stuff.
And that's what's great. It's like it feels like the art side of it hasn't changed since like last year. And like the great things about it is even back, when I started, is people were very like kind of warm, welcoming in this space. Right. So I think because of being a collector and being an artist, that stuff dates way centuries back. And I think that's just like so human nature. That's just not going to go anywhere. And I think that's one of the best parts of like the NFT space is being an artist and being to connect with your collector base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you experience in the fine art world. So it's I'd imagine whatever the NFT space is doing is reflecting on what it was like with like a collector.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's
So
so similar. It's like the regular traditional fine art world, but moving, a million times faster.
yeah, and doing
Yeah.
like with crypto and like that the
It's so weird.
craziness of it. Yeah.
So
It's wild.
what are your future plans now? You're in this position to where you're sort of, you had a major change, really. I mean, are you still doing visual effects on the side, or gigs on the side, or because you could just do NFTs now and not have to do anything else, it seems like. But
True.
are you still doing it? Are you still doing that stuff? Do you have any like future plans, or what's the future hold for you?
Yeah. Like in January, I had like a nifty gateway drop, which did like super well.
Oh,
But
cool.
earlier earlier that month, I was actually still working with a visual effects company and working on a TV show, and um still enjoying like the VFX part of it, but I've definitely put that like kind of on the back burner.
Hmm.
And it's one of those things, like if they reach out to me and I have kind of a downtime and I'm not doing anything creatively and NFT stuff, I would totally love to like continue working, with these companies that I've
Yeah.
like built relationships with, and even like Eddie with like the clients and the different directors I've worked
Hmm.
with, like if the timing's right. But yeah, it's like I feel pretty fortunate enough to in the space where I feel comfortable to be able to just kind of focus on my art and kind of like leave it at that, and kind of see where it goes. And it's kind of, last year was maybe more like 20% client work and the remainder 80% being NFTs, and now it feels maybe pushing more towards like 90% NFTs, possibly 100% NFT work and digital artwork, and doing these things with collectors in the space. So
Wow.
um
Sounds
yeah.
great. It sounds like you're in a great position.
Yeah, no, I feel I'm always like very feel lucky and fortunate, just kind of right time, place, and just
Yeah.
we all work our asses off. I think people definitely deserve the recognition they deserve. So that's why like I'm super excited about you being on Super Rare. I think people are gonna love it. So
I hope so, man. I'm nervous
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
I've been like,
I
especially
know
with
the feeling.
the war
You've
thing,
yeah.
the Russia thing. It's like, but aside from that, it's been like, you want it to make it's super rare. It's like one of the top
Yeah.
platforms for selling, and it's where the whales are and where all the people with the most money are, from what I've heard. And so you want to make it count.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but I started getting very like too cautious, and it was really screwing me up. Like I'm thinking, oh, I got to make sure I do it at the right time, and and make it count and blah blah, which I'm going to try to, but I can't get hung up on that.
Can't.
That's not the best way to approach it. You just got to like do what you think is cool. Or I mean, this is how I've approached my whole career. It's like, do what I think is cool and release it when I feel like it's the right time, and just let it go and see what happens.
Yeah, it just fall to your gut, and like
Yeah.
it's yeah, like there's times that like I was surprised like with these sales. Like there's times where it's like, oh, like last June, May or June, I'm like, wow, like NFTs like really took a dip. Like I don't know, maybe I'll just start doing more client work, I
Oh, really?
guess. Yeah, start questioning yourself. and
Yeah.
and then like things were starting to slowly pick back up, and like fuck, I didn't imagine that to happen. So it's just kind of like it was so unplanned, and like I said, like going back, it's so organic, and you just like throw it out there and see what happens. And I put up stuff even recently on Super Rare that just been sitting there for like a few months, and like just like being okay like with that is good, because it's a bit of a quiet time. So
Right.
you just see where it goes. And yeah, I agree. Not to like kind of sit and
Not to
wait.
overthink it, really. I
Yeah.
don't think overthinking it's, at least I was feeling like it was taking all the fun out of it for me.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
if I don't sell it for some huge price, it doesn't matter. It was super fun. I enjoyed doing it, and maybe something else will down the line sell for a really good price.
And that
I'm just gonna keep making cool shit and putting it up.
and to be honest, like that's happened. Like even my first piece is like, I mean, for several pieces, not that much, and then it just kind of grew and grew, and
Oh,
then
okay.
it'll dip,
Right.
and like you want to be able to kind of respect your collectors, but like, I mean, it's okay, like it's okay to like kind of try and like to fail, or at least do it and not do it, and just have fun. And I think that kind of reflects on the art. It's just like you rather just try and make the art than not, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to keep it as fun as possible for as long as possible, and just don't want to get too caught up in,
The noise.
yeah, all the noise.
Exactly.
But
Yeah, just have fun. That's kind of like where it kind of really goes back to. And
yeah, that's where
attaching
the
that.
the best art will come from, is having fun. That's how I always have approached my painting. It's how I approached it when I was a kid. That's why we all started.
Yeah. And I like I've do you know the artist Coldie?
Mhm.
Coldie. Coldie. He's one of the OG kind of like super rare artists. Coldie on
Mhm.
super rare.
Okay.
And he made a comment like a few months ago that he put up a piece on super rare over a year ago, and it did not like sell for a whole year.
Wow.
And then it finally sold for the price that he was looking for. And to him, it's just like he made a comment of like, sometimes it takes that long.
Right.
And
Right.
it's so easy to get caught up in like, you put it out and boom, a sale,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you think, yeah, it's, again, this is like art sales. This is like
Yeah.
traditional art sales.
So you're
You,
familiar.
yeah, you can't expect it to sell right away,
Yeah.
for whatever. It's like, it might, it may not. It'll eventually probably sell over time. There's no sure thing, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's good to know. That's good to know. I guess that, the fear for new artists in the space is like, oh, if I put it up and it doesn't sell, then I'm ruined and everyone thinks I suck and people aren't going to buy it. But I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
even goes for like artists that have been in the space for a year or two, where it's like put up there
right.
and like, fuck, it didn't sell. Like, ah, damn it. That critical self-doubt as
Yeah.
like an
Oh, it's
artist.
over. I failed.
I'm
It's never gonna. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
imposter syndrome.
Yeah. It's real. It's just like so human nature.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like honestly, we all don't know where this space is gonna go, but I feel like there's some sort of creative spirit that's, you know, going through all these growing pains. And I think people are realizing, going back to just quality artwork, and that people love, collect what you love, as
Right.
I hear like some collectors say. And you rather have a good collector than a bad collector in ways too.
Yeah, that's in it for the right reasons, kind of.
Yeah, and grow that relationship. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's quality and not quantity.
and it's like NFT, like art, it's only been really around for not even a year. So it's just like, it feels so beginning
What do you
stage.
mean? Not even when
I
did it
mean,
start?
I guess like NFT did start like in 2017, and
That's what.
then with the collectibles, and then 2018 you started introducing the art.
Oh,
But then
so like the one of ones you're talking.
yeah, I think super rare started in early 2018.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
then
that's still nothing. It's no time.
yeah, and then people didn't really start recognizing the super rare name until late 2020.
Hmm.
So it's just like, fuck, dude. Like you said, like 1 year feels like 10 years.
I know,
Yeah.
that's such a weird aspect of it too.
Yeah.
of the NFT thing. It really, everyone was telling me that when I got in. Time is faster in NFT world. And I was like, what? How's that
And
possible? And it's so true, man. It's so weird.
it is.
It's like an
And to be
alternate
honest,
reality.
it's like we're gonna experience dips in the space, but the next time it goes back up is gonna be more than what we just
Right.
experienced. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's like crypto does the same thing.
yeah.
It has that retracement and then it goes back higher than it was.
Because like what I always like
Bitcoin
hearing,
specifically.
yeah, because when you zoom in on these cryptocurrencies and even the NFT space, you just see it go up and down, up and down, up and down. Like, what is it, one on ones now? Is it PFPs?
Right. Right.
But when you zoom out, there's actual like an upward
Yep.
trend.
Yep.
And
Overall. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. When in doubt,
that's
zoom out, they say.
yeah, there it is. Yeah. Not to talk too much about NFTs, but
Hey, you're an NFT artist. I'm into NFTs. It's just got to talk about it. I don't know. I'm
good
excited
stuff.
about it. I just it's just an extension of the art world.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really the same thing. So, if you're not into NFTs, you can still listen to the conversation, and I think it all generally applies to the traditional art world as well. Most of the stuff.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I'm still stoked on it. I'm still
Yeah.
excited. I'm just waiting for things to calm down so I can get cracking. And in the meantime, I'm just, working on new stuff as I can.
And
You
hey,
know.
it's better than nothing. It's definitely something. The
Yeah.
NFTs.
It's true. It's better than nothing. NFTs. It's better than nothing.
Yeah. You think, yeah, the world just does not make sense. Like you're gonna, yeah,
Right.
people are gonna like sit and complain and say like, I don't get NFTs, and like, well, zoom out and look at the rest of the world.
Yeah,
A
it's
lot of this
true.
stuff doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
we live in a totally crazy, insane, unpredictable, chaotic world. And
Yeah.
so it's sort of,
Why not?
yeah, exactly. What have you got to lose at this point? That's one kind of good thing about everything falling apart is like, at least there's nothing to hold on to anymore. There's nothing you can really count on anymore. There's not like that job with the retirement and the gold watch at the end. And if you play by the rules, you'll be taken care of when you're old.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore. Everything is total chaos. So, but there's like a freedom there because it's like, why not take chances and do what you want? It's never been a better time to just like be fuck it. I'm gonna do what I love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's what people are very attracted to, is that a freedom element to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
it goes back to just stopping doing the client work, because the client work was so creatively sucking, and get in touch with yourself and your art and your creative self, and people will connect with that. And it's, yeah, it speaks louder to make a piece of artwork that people can connect with, not only connect but also collect, as opposed to just, like being a cog in the wheel. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Well, shit, we're almost at 2 hours, so I'm not going to keep. It's got your room has gotten darker as we've spoken. I don't want to keep you on here all night. It's like it's still daytime for me, but you've gone into night. But man, it was so great talking to you. I really appreciate you coming on. I want to have you on again sometime if you're up for it, because it's like there's a lot of stuff that I could seriously keep going another couple hours easy with all the questions I have. So I'd love to have you on again sometime.
That'd be awesome.
Cool.
Totally
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Thanks again for coming on. And so for people I'll put it in the body of the text of the video and recording of stuff, but where do people go to see you, to see your stuff?
I mean, as you mentioned, Twitter, Xsullo is the place to go, especially the NFT. But if you just want to check out my art and see what my art's about, it's also Instagram at Xsullo. And then you can check out my website at xsullo.com.
XSULLO, people.
Yep. That's
cool.
the place.
All right.
Man.
Well, don't hang up when we stop, but you have to say goodbye to the audience because it's a stupid thing I started doing and I can't stop. So just say goodbye, audience, in whatever way you want.
I appreciate everyone listening to this place. Hope we didn't like bore you with talking about NFTs. Like we genuinely care about the art here, and that's what it's all about. But we do love our collectors. So shout out to the collectors.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening.